unclaimed property in America, and that's basically forgotten bank accounts, insurance policies, security deposits, could be literally anything to do with money. There's $80 billion sitting in America alone, and that is actually growing every year. So there's more money being added to it than is actually being claimed.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and this is Unveiling Journeys. Oh man, wait, you just wait. I've met some cool people and I want you to know them. That's it. I love the power of networking, just a smidge about me. And when I get a chance to meet people, I say, hey, who do you know that I should know after you meet me? And then here's who I know. Which of them do you want to know? So that way I can share them all with you. Some of the other favorite things I love to do, attending like high level networking groups and or coming to high level masterminds. So that way I can be not the smartest person in the room. I love leaving with the wisdom of all the people that you get to hang out with and socialize with. And that's exactly how I met our guest today. I said, hey, who do you know that I need to know? And they said, you got to know this guy, Mark. Here's why. And we got on the phone together and it was amazing. And we've had so many great phone calls since. And I cannot wait to continue staying his friend and doing amazing, great things with him. And I need you all to know him. So hear me out. Let's hang out. Welcome to Unveiling Journeys. Welcome, Mark. And tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're up to right now.
Tiffany, I thought the introduction was going to be slightly different. I thought you were going to say, and for his first song, I was ready to sing.
Please, yes, sing, sing.
Actually, no, you don't want to hear that. I'm totally tone deaf. I'll tell you about that story later. So my name is Mark Gannon. I'm based in Australia in a beautiful city called Brisbane. I'm married to a beautiful young lady called Barbara. We've been married now for 37 years, I think. I've got to be careful because she's listening and she's going to yell at me if I got it wrong. We've got our son, Lachlan. He's in his 30s, married to a beautiful young Taiwanese girl called Nora, sorry. And we've got two beautiful grandkids, Sophie and Theo. So that's us. Oh, and I've got a fat sausage dog called Simon. So that's me.
That's you. And tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now with your business.
Okay, so we run a business called Lost Money Detectives. So we started that 13 years ago on a kitchen table here in Australia. And what we do is we find lost and unclaimed money. But what happened in Australia, the privacy laws changed. There are quite a few moving pieces. And what happened is the business, which was a very successful business, became from a successful business to a hobby business. So we had to sort of pivot. And that's been the story of our lives. When we sort of find opportunities and we pivot, or when life hits you, we pivot. And we ended up restarting our whole business and moving it to America. So it's crazy. Here we're a bunch of Aussies running an unclaimed property business from Australia into America. So that's what we're doing now, Tiffany.
So when you started telling me about this website, which I've been to and I love, you were helping people find this money that they didn't even realize, or even just seek out people saying like, hey, did you know that there's money that you had available that you need to go find? And we found it for you. We're your detectives on your side. And then we want to let you know, here's how you go get it. And the ability for someone to create that, invent it, and then make it happen blows my mind, because this is what we need. We need like an advocate on our side for what it is that you have missing out there that is rightfully yours and that you could bring to people. So I get really excited about your business model because yeah, sign me up. Like how and what and all of the above just means so much to me. So I appreciate that you work so hard to get to where you're at right now and you continue with through it all, because the Lost Money Detectives isn't just what you might imagine it to be in your brain right now, but it's so much deeper and wider because you know these things that Americans didn't even know how to get a credit for this or a government rebate on that, or a guy that knows how to get you just all of that stuff you are bringing to everybody. And I'm just so appreciative. Is there a nugget that I left out in that?
No, well, just to give everyone, and are you sitting down? Okay, and this blows my mind. In America itself, now there's five types of unclaimed property, but I'll go through the main one, and that's just standard unclaimed property, which is what only exists in Australia. You've got another four types, but unclaimed property in America, and that's basically forgotten bank accounts, insurance policies, security deposits, could be literally anything to do with money. There's $80 billion sitting in America alone, and that is actually growing every year. So there's more money being added to it than it's actually being claimed. $80
That
billion.
blows my mind. That's so much money that should be back in every American's pocket of something as silly as like a bank account. Like I got a paper one time that said, "Hey, we owe you 25 cents." I'm like, "Well, it's 70 cents to mail the stamp to tell you that I want the 25-cent back. So you're going to have to keep that."
Yeah,
But
it's
we're talking big dollar amounts that people may not know about.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we were, and the stories are absolutely endless because you get to really get to know the people and their backstory, and some of them are scary. We've actually come across a lot of people who have been, this one's a bit ominous, but murdered. And because you think about it, if someone's been, I suppose, knocked off, they don't know, they don't know about their unclaimed money, do they? Because they're not here. And
Yeah.
so that gets lodged in the state as unclaimed money. It's just amazing. The stories are endless. And then you get the very, very heartwarming ones. We've had people who have had strokes. We had a developer who had a stroke and he lost a whole chunk of his memory. And he had paid a security deposit because in Australia, this is Australia now, when you develop a block of land, you have to pay a certain amount to the county for parks or whatever, for improvements in the development area. And the poor fellow had forgotten that he had done that. And the councils here amalgamated into one, the counties, let's say, and this money came up. It was unlodged, and it was $90,000. So you're not talking, chicken
No.
feed. And he was so thankful, so thankful.
Wow. That's incredible. You're doing amazing work. Let's do this. I want to hear from the beginning. This is Unveiling Journeys and I want to hear your whole story. So, we know you're from Australia, but like where did you grow up and like what did you want to do when you grew up as a kid and then into your first job?
Okay. So I'm turning 60 very soon, actually, this month. So I'm looking forward to that.
Where?
And so I was born in England in 1965, and my family emigrated from um, England to Australia, and we were classed as a £10 POM because what happened in those days, Australia actually paid for certain nations to actually come out to Australia and populate it. So yeah, so my schooling was all in Australia. Then we moved up to Queensland and I finished my university up here. What did I want to do? I always wanted to be a lumberjack. No, it's Monty Python. No. Anyway, that's a song. I was going to break into a song for all you. No, I always wanted to get into the music industry as a producer. So my background is sound and audio. So my first job was actually as a radio announcer. Then I went into TV production. But what I found, Tiffany, is the TV industry and the entertainment industry is quite, it's not a very healthy industry, and just from morals and just ethics. And my wife said I was changing too much, and so I took a sort of like a reflective look at myself. And then from there, Barb and I have always been very entrepreneurial. So we've set up multiple businesses. I don't even know how many businesses, Tiffany, we've set up. We've done really well, lost it all, got it back, lost it all, got it back. Yeah, it's just that's been the cycle of an entrepreneur. And we ended up, where did we go? We ended up moving to Ireland for 7 years, and we were developing kindergartens there. So we had one kindergarten, but we were developing another five, and then laws changed there again. We couldn't use the tax scheme we were using to raise investment. And then from there, we moved to Turkey.
Wait,
And
wait, you're skipping over this so darn fast. So you left Australia with your wife and you guys moved to Ireland. to
Yep.
develop kindergartens. That's incredible. And you guys were going to build 5 more. I think some weird shenanigans happened, right, in the business, but that
Yeah.
is tell me a smidge more about that because we have time. Like, I want to hear about it.
Well, the kindergartens were interesting. So we were there and we were trying to find, again, an opportunity. And I was working for a company selling newsletters, electronic newsletters. So we're talking early 2000s, and that was a big thing then. And I was flying back and forth from Ireland to UK. I was presenting the opportunity there, and I hated it. And I remember being in a train in the tube in London and opening up a paper, and it was an Irish newspaper, and it said government subsidies for kindergartens and what was the other one? Retirement homes and car parks. And there was a really good government incentive for anyone developing these. And then the next page, page 2, was chronic childcare shortage. So I rang up my wife. I was on the train with my big phone, and I rang her up and I said, darling, would you like to develop a kindergarten? And Barbara, being Barbara, said yes. So that was our journey. And by the time I'd gotten home 3-4 days later, Barbara had already found a development with a proposed kindergarten, and that was our journey. It took us 2 years to actually get it together because we had no money. Because I had a fight with the sales manager, who was a real, I won't say it on here, Tiffany, but he was not nice. And my mother had just passed away at that stage, and it was quite emotional. And he was about as sympathetic as a brick. So I nearly jumped over the desk and strangled him. So I had to leave. And so we basically had no money. So we had to develop this strategy with no money. And by the time, so we ended up using concept of OTP, other people's money. Is that it? That's right. Other people's OPM.
OPM. Yeah.
Yeah. And I built it all around a tax shelter scheme. And the accountant, who was the consultant who we were paying 100,000 euros back in 2006, they were trying to backdoor us, which we didn't know, and try and send us bankrupt. We found out through that, so that left us in the poo. So here am I, already way down the process, bought the property, put deposits down, and we found out that the accountant was trying to set up their own investors, and because that was part of their role. So we had to sack them. So here am I running around Cork in Ireland trying to raise €2.5 million. And I had never done that before. So here am I presenting board level at banks trying to raise this money, and which I did. And yeah, it was insane. Absolutely. Oh, and our lawyer missed. Listen to this. And this is one piece of advice I can give to everyone. If you always control the money and always get a second opinion, don't trust professionals. When it's big dollars, get a second opinion. This lawyer, who was a very close friend of ours, who was actually our neighbour, he missed a comma and a word and because of that, we had to pay an extra 108,000 euros in stamp duty. Yes. Yep.
Comma and an and. Well, that's a learning lesson if I've ever had one. Nowadays, you just load it into ChatGPT. Help me. Help.
Exactly. And what happened from there? So by the time we left, so that really staled the partnership with the directors, and that is why we got out. But by the time we left, that property was valued at about 5 million euro, no, Australian dollars at that stage, which was about 2.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So you wrap up the kindergarten deals, your highs, lows, right? And then you move back to the UK. Tell
No,
me.
we ended up moving to Turkey.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, Turkey.
And the reason we moved to Turkey, Tiffany, is when you sort of have to put yourself out there, and you know this, is when you network with people, you meet other people. And I was networking in a property group because we had to raise investment for the deposit. And it was a group of people who were interested in the principles of Robert Kiyosaki. Barbara and I used to teach cash flow here in Australia. We actually were involved with, when Robert Kiyosaki first came out to Australia, we were on the teams helping facilitate. It was a great. It's him and Kim are just lovely. But we learnt a lot from that. And in this group, this one lady was a broker, and she was an onshore broker, but her love was actually doing mortgages offshore. But her particular knack was securing the properties by having a mortgage based in that country,
Hmm.
not taking equity out of your property. So it was quite a unique thing. And she actually approached me and said, look, I can't do that because there's a conflict of interest, but I've set up a business. Would you like to take it over? And she offered me to come get involved. And so I moved from that into that. And then what happened is, as a result of that, there were a lot of Irish developers developing in Turkey. Turkey at that stage had just brought out mortgages because it's against the Quran. Think about this. It's against the Quran to offer to pay interest. But because Turkey was trying to get into the EU, previously they had a referendum of 72 million Turks who agreed to offer mortgages. So here we
Wow.
are. Yeah, so we were the first. In fact, myself and Barb, we were one of the first companies that ever did a Turkish mortgage for a foreigner in Turkey, and that was insane.
Yeah. That's incredible.
And th- then we were there. We did really, really well. We lived like kings. It was beautiful. And then 8 happened, and the whole thing collapsed because Turkey just was bringing on the mortgage concept. The banks didn't know how to handle the GFC, so they basically just turned it off. And all our mortgages, we had 2 towers that we were basically had it all mortgaged, all ready to settle. Poof, overnight.
Wow.
So we lost literally everything. So we came back to Australia after 10 years. And what happened? We had 10 boxes, a Turkish dog that we brought back, an Anatolian sheepdog, big 65-kilo dog, and an Irish cat. And that was it. So we started again.
Yeah.
The only job I could get back here in Australia was too qualified. That's what they were saying. I was a traffic controller, so I was a lollipop guy. That's the only thing I could get. And Barbara and Lachlan were actually trapped in Turkey. I couldn't get them. We didn't have enough money to bring them over. And so I had to and it was the first time we were separated in 25 years at that stage. And they were stuck in Turkey, and I had to work doing 14-hour days trying to find a business idea. And that's how I found the lost money detective concept. I was just looking and looking and looking.
That's incredible. And so this was born out of the idea of like you needed to have a business. But what sparked your interest and what was maybe like a key moment where you're like, wait a minute, I could help Australians out by creating this website and then figure out all the red tape through it all to help people get this lost money.
Okay, so that was quite interesting. So there was a magazine in Australia called Business Opportunities, and was an actual a paper magazine, and it was around for 20, 30 years. I think it's gone now, but I remembered it, and I said, "Is it still there?" Anyway, and I was looking through it, and there was a lady flogging this unclaimed money idea, and it was quite expensive. It wasn't cheap. And we ended up buying the course. And it's funny how life works, Tiffany. I was desperate to find something to bring the guys home. And I had a tax deduction from when I left uh, that I never claimed. So that's 10 years beforehand. And my accountant said, you haven't claimed this. And I went, oh, so that means I got my tax back for that whole year. And that was allowed. And to Barbara's credit, we really needed that money. And I said, sweetheart, I can keep on doing this job, and we can keep on looking for another way of making money, or we can throw whatever, we can use our tax return and buy this. And she said, buy it. The thing is, I bought the course, and it was so poorly put together. We pulled it apart and said, it's pardon my language, it's crap. It was absolute garbage. And so we took 2 or 3 elements of it and then redesigned it all and started. So yeah, So that's what we did. We ended up trying to get a refund from the person who supplied the course, but they were horrible, horrible individuals.
No, that's not
So
what you
anyway,
want to hear.
so that's how Lost Money Detective started, and we literally started on a kitchen table. I got
Yeah.
Barbara and Lachlan back at that stage. I was still traffic controlling. I did that for three and a half miserable years whilst we were building this. And in my lunch break, I would go and sit in my van. Everyone else would have lunch, and I'd be calling people.
Wow. Just the hustle and the grind culture that you're always showing up to do. I mean, even to this day, we have a meeting right before this. We're like, how are we going to do this with the new thing, the new idea? And this, it's just in the name of like, there are opportunities. And if everyone else is going to overlook them, I'm going to bring them to people. And I just love that about you and how your brain is always simmering. Like, this is how to make it more effective and structured. And it's just wonderful.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about why you keep trying so hard to do all of this.
That's a very good question. My son said that we're very resilient. We are, and I mean we're entrepreneurs by nature. I can't. Barb and I have a saying. We heard it years ago. We're not the type of person to watch a box, live in a box, and wait for a box. We've always looked at different things and said, there's an opportunity or there's a gap. And that's what we've always looked at. And we're crazy enough just to throw everything at it. And, in many cases, Tiffany, most of them fail. Most of those ideas fail. But there are ones that work. Now, you could say that we succeeded in lost doing this unclaimed money because we've been doing it for so long, but we haven't. We've failed multiple times. We've gone down the avenue multiple times. The amount of money we've invested in this business is huge. But, are we financially free? No. We still struggling? Yes. But we still keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to because, I married a young lady, as I said, 37 years ago. I'm not going to let her down. Now we've got a son who's involved in our business now on a day-to-day business level, and he's running it. And so now we've got legacy.
Mm.
So, the thing is we want to pass this. We want to do something good. We want to establish things. And the thing is you need to control your own ship. You don't, because the worst thing that you can do now is work for someone in this economy and put all your eggs in one basket. You just can't do that.
100%. Especially when you have so many amazing resources that are now free at your fingertips that previously you didn't have access to. At least seek a few out, right? Or have a few networking calls. Like that's how I met you. And now our ideas and brains are spinning about more things. And surround yourself with someone just to get you to think bigger all the time.
Always.
Do me a favor. Tell me, uh, at this point, everybody's thinking, I want to know what's your favorite way for people to come hang out with you, to come have a chat with you, and that they should come get an appointment with you to talk to you about what you're up to.
Well, they can always reach out to me on our website, which is lostmoneydetectives.com. Tiffany's going to supply the link for you. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me there, and happy to have a chat. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. Not that I use it. I know Tiffany loves LinkedIn, but you get a little bit older and you go, no, I'd rather talk to someone. But this is how Tiffany does it. She uses LinkedIn to talk to people. Anyway, there you go. I'm preaching to the converted, but yes, reach out to me, website or LinkedIn.
Perfect. Awesome. And if you can't find him, come ask me and I'll get you with Mark and be like, where's that guy again? What's the website? All right. At this point, you could Google him. But I like to leave everybody with kind of your favorite few or one nuggets that you just love to share of your words of wisdom to everyone.
The few pieces of nuggets is grab grab life by the Kahunis and run. So there are opportunities that pass you by every day, and there are okay. People talk about life now and AI and all of that. That it's going to take jobs. Yes, it's going to take jobs, but it's also creating opportunities. The amount of opportunities that are creating right now is huge. If you don't understand it, get with someone who can teach you about what's happening. The world is going through a massive AI transition, and you can either let it pass you by or you can jump in. And that's what I suggest that you do. As I said, I'm turning 60 and we're excited about what's happening in life now with the opportunity of AI than anything else. So basically, what I'm saying is jump on board on that.
I love that. You are full of so much wisdom, and I love that you're so eager to share it with people and then get back to people what's rightfully theirs. And guys, check out his website and check out the show notes below. Go reach out to him. See if you guys can brainstorm together if you want to have a meeting of the minds. But also, thank you, Mark, for coming today. I know it's like I'm always asking people, come be on my show if you're the right person to come and explain to everybody what it is that you're doing, because I want the world to know. And I appreciate your time for coming out today, because we're on opposite sides of the world right now. You're just getting up and I'm just going to like, end my day. So thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for staying and listening to the whole show. And I'll see you guys on the next episodes. And bye bye for now.